everyone! This week we're going to get started on electrical.
So we're going to be using this yarn to simulate our electrical wiring. This one for 230 volts and this one for 12 volts.
We made this drawing of every single plug and electrical component that we're going to have in the van. Now we're going to just follow this reference. And we're going to use this Sharpie to write down every single spot that needs electricity and what kind, if it's 12 volt or 230 volts. And then we're going to use our yarn to basically connect the dots. After we put all of the yarn up on the walls and we knew exactly how much we needed, we took it out and we measured it, and then we got online and started ordering the wires.
So these are all the wires we're going to use. This first one is the 5 gauge one. It's for the B2B charger. We're going to need 2 of them, one negative, it's this one, and one for the positive. This next one is a 12 gauge wire, and it's a duplex, meaning that both the positive and negative are already inside the same sleeve, and we're going to use it for the water pump and all our 12 volt plugs. This is the 16 gauge one, and it's also a duplex, like the other one, and we're going to use it for all of our lights, our fridge, and our fan. Finally, we have the 10 gauge, and this one is a triplex, meaning that it has the positive, negative, and ground wire all together, and it's for the 230 volt plugs.
Then we're going to use 25 mil conduit. We have 50 meters here, so I think that's enough. We're going to start with the 230 volt wiring. We just think this one's a bit simpler because we're going to isolate it in a separate conduit from all of the other wiring, because it's going to run 230 volts instead of 12 volts, which is what everything else is going to run. We have a little wiring diagram that we made for the 230 volt plugs. We have our triplex wire coming from our 230 volt breaker box. Then they run all the way to the first plug. We're going to have some Wago connectors do this connection right here to the first plug. Then the cable continues on up to the next plug, Wago connectors again in order to split this, and then they're going to run all the way to the last plug. This is actually proving to be a bit tough because we didn't really account for space behind the beams for the conduit to run. So we just insulated all under there. So we're just having to run a screwdriver through to make space for the conduit, and it's a lot of work. So the first step is to cut a hole into our vapor barrier, which seems counterintuitive, so that we can have access to the inside of the wall. And I do it on both sides. Okay, once we have access to the wall, handy screwdriver goes through and clears a little bit of insulation off on both sides. And then we just start feeding it through. And for this I kind of need Rico's help, so we can't be filming.
There it is.
So Rico made sure to buy the conduit that comes with a little guide. So we're going to just tape the cable up to the guide, and then we're just going to pull the guide. Okay, I got it.
It's out! It's a boy!
Oh my god. That took all I had. And you did the most.
So all this tape for nothing.
Yeah, the guide didn't even help. I think because the cable's too thick, you know? We're gonna have to pull.
Can you even pull it? Yeah, it's way easier to pull it. So this is our triplex wire. This is what we're using for our 230 volt plugs. It has a positive, a negative, and a ground wire. This is called a Wago connector. It has 3 slots at the front, and each slot is going to receive a different wire. Basically what it does is, each time we use it, we double the amount of wire we have.
We're going to have 3 areas in the van where we're going to have 230 volt plugs. We're going to have a double plug here above the fridge, another double plug here inside this cupboard, and then all the way here.
First up, we're going to strip away about 3 fingers of this green outer sleeve so we can access the cables inside, because we need to separate them. Yeah, so we want to work it out like this, you see? We're going to strip away each of the cables, and each of them is going to go into a Wago connector. Perfect. We want to make sure all the strands go inside the Wago. Ah, that's perfect.
You can see the copper wire hitting the back of the Wago connector.
We're going to be cutting the cable on this end that's going to connect to the breaker.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Holy moly. Okay, so the conduit's gonna be flipped like that. That's it.
We have another set of 230 volt plugs here, and we're gonna have to use another set of wiggle connectors to split this cable into two. One for here, and the other one for the final 230 volt plug over there. So this wire we just put up isn't connected to anything yet. We're gonna hook it up to all the wagos so it's connected to this main line that's gonna run to the breaker.
Okay, can you come hold this? Okay.
Yep. That's it. Yeah, that's good now.
Okay, it's out.
It's out?
Yeah. All done. I think we'll probably put the outlet here instead of where we drew it. This was just for reference. Probably go here so that the wagos connect easy. Now that we've pre-wired the 230 volt outlets, we're gonna get started on some of the stuff that we're gonna wire on this side of the van. So we're gonna run some conduit over the back door to get power onto the left side.
We got our conduits all the way around thanks to Neige. We're just gonna cut it from the source, and then we're gonna feed the cable in.
This is the source.
Now that the conduit is in, we're gonna have to make a cut right here so that the wires for the max air fan can come out.
So these are the wires we're going to run through the conduit we just installed. This white one is a 16 gauge wire. It's only going to run halfway through the conduit and then it's going to come out to the max air fan. It's a duplex wire. It has the positive and the negative in there. Black one is also a duplex, so it has the positive and the negative in there, but it's a 12 gauge wire and it's going to run all the way through the conduit to the water pump.
So easy.
Holy, so easy. What the fuck do you mean so easy? It was the hardest thing.
Now we have to put it in the thing.
We have the 16 gauge wire here for the fan, and we have the 12 gauge wire all pulled out, and now we're going to try and fit it into the conduit before trying to put the conduit back in place. So now that we have the conduit, we're just going to put it into the wall. Like this. This max air fan cable right here, we cut it short because the max air fan has its own set of cables. We're going to have to put some conduit on here to keep this wire from rubbing on this very sharp edge. That's just temporary until we know how much conduit we actually need to reach the fan.
Now we've done the wiring for the max air fan and for the water pump. We're going to use the same wire that we use for the max air fan. We're going to wire for our 12 volt fridge and our toilet fan.
I hate this. Okay. Maybe give it a little bit more over there. Straighten it up, yeah, good. Okay, I think we have enough
That's
here.
more than enough, yeah.
Yeah. This is the same cable. We're just using both ends of the cable at the same time.
There. Nice.
That's good. Right now we're going to be running the wires for our B2B charger. Our B2B charger is going to be at the back of the van, and it's going to connect to the starter battery at the front of the van. So we have to wire all through the wall from the back of the van to the front of the van to the starter battery. The B2B is what's going to allow us to charge our batteries here at the back while we're driving. It's going to be a very nice complementary source of energy when we're in any climate that isn't very sunny. The wires we're using are 6-gauge wires. We're using blue for positive and black for negative. We couldn't find red for positive.
So I already cut the conduit down to size. We're going to be smart about this. We're going to run the wires before we put the conduits onto the wall.
I'm going to tape them together so hopefully we can pass them through the conduit at the same time. Now that we have the cables through the conduit, we're just going to run everything through the wall. We already have 3 conduits going on this wall for our 12-volt plugs, for our bed lights, 230 volts, and our fridge and our bathroom fan. So this is just going to be one more conduit that's just going to be shimmied between these. So this part of the conduit is going to be hidden behind stuff, and this part is going to run under our cab area, under this mat type of thing, all the way to our starter battery. We're only doing this when we actually install the B2B, so for now I'm just going to loop it over here with more wires so that it's not too messy in here. Now we just need to pull the fan wire and pull it through the second part of the conduit.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, so now we just need to pass it behind this wall. Like that.
Now we're just cutting these wires to connect to our fuse block.
Now that we've wired for the fridge and the bathroom fan, it's time to wire all of our 12-volt plugs. We're using 12-gauge wire, same wire we used for the water pump, and we're going to run it sort of in the same way we ran the 230-volt wires. So it's going to kind of follow it along because we have 12-volt plugs kind of in the same spots where we have 230-volt plugs.
There we go.
So we're actually going to have to cut these zip ties that we put in already to secure the 230-volt conduit because the 12-volt conduit is the one that's going to run flush with the beam. This one's going to sit beside it.
Good job. Just like we did before, I'm just going to strip back some of this outer sleeve so we can have access to the cables inside.
We're going to hook this little piece of wire to the main line that we Wago connected before, and then it's going to run all the way up here for a 12-volt plug here, and then we're going to split it with Wago connectors so that it keeps going all the way around to Rico's office and the last plug.
Let's just lift up the middle terminal on the Wago connector for the positive cable. We're going to put in the positive cable in here. Alright. So now this is the same thing as these two cables being connected. It's nicely secured. Now I'm going to take the negative cable and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Open up the middle terminal, push it as far as it goes until I see the copper back there. Then I'm going to close it. I'm going to yank it just to make sure it doesn't come out. It doesn't. That means it's well connected. And that's it.
Here.
Nice.
I'm just like tediously using the X-Acto knife to very slowly break the top layer off. So we tried a couple times with just the wire cutters and it was nicking the inner wires. Now the wires are free, but we can't just pull out this sleeve, it just doesn't come out. So what I've been having to do is kind of fold it like this and cut the middle. That's it. Okay, so then just kind of pry it out like that. And I just cut as I go. That's how we've been doing it. So we ended up wiring a white 16 gauge wire through our 12 volt plug conduit. We kind of forgot about our bedside lights, so we needed to run some cables. Just two pigeons just casually walk by. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted. So we just wired for our bedside lights. Our bedside lights are actually kind of cool. They have USB plugs in them. We're going to have one over here and one over here. So we put the Wagos in the middle so that the wires from the lights can just hook up to the Wagos, and we can split this into the two lights. We're going to have two lights on the ceiling on the back of the van. These are going to be controlled by a dimmable switch that's going to live around here somewhere. Then we're going to have a set of lights at the front of the van that are also going to be dimmable, and the switch is going to live somewhere close to the sliding door. We're going to wire everything in series, so they're all going to attach to the same fuse. We're going to be using 16 gauge wire. It's the same duplex one we used for the fridge and the fans and the bedside lights.
So we just got the first bit of conduit we're going to use. We're just going to run the cable through here first, like we've learned in the past. This is the most efficient way to do it. Then we're going to put it on the wall, and it's going to go all the way up to where we're going to put our first Wayo connector to split the cable.
So, as you can probably tell, we've put in some of the ceiling. We've done the furring strips, we've done the insulation, and we've done a vapor barrier. Now, before we can continue on with the ceiling, we have to finish the pre-wiring of the lights, which is what we have left to do in this video. So the video where we take care of the ceiling situation is going to come out after this one. As you can see, we also have these cables dangling from the ceiling. These are coming from the roof. There are solar cables. There's also a whole video about the solar install that's coming up next.
Right, everyone, let's do a quick recap of what we did for the lights so far. So we ran the main cable that's going to power all of our lights all the way through here, above here next to the ceiling, and we connected it here to these two Wagos. Alright, this is going to be our main splitting point. Each cable that comes out from here is going to power a different set of lights. So this smaller cable right here is going to connect to our switch, or light switch. From the light switch, it's going to go on to the bedroom lights. On this slot that's missing in the Wagos, we're still going to connect the cables for the other two sets of lights that we're going to install. But for right now, we're only going to focus on the bedroom lights. This is the diagram we're going to follow for our light switches. So we're going to be using dimmers, and dimmers come with 3 different cables on them. This positive is the one that's coming down from the main cable. It's going to connect to a cable that's coming out of the dimmer. Then on the other sides, on this black cable that's also a positive, we're going to connect a different positive wire, and this positive wire is the one that's going to go out to the lights. While for the negative, this is the negative that's coming out of the main source. It's going to go to a Wago. From the Wago, one of the cables is going to come out to meet this other cable coming out of the dimmer, and the other one from the Wago is going to go out to the lights.
So I'm just stripping this wire. First, the negative is the brown and the positive is the blue. We're going to just do the negative connection for now because we don't have the dimmer yet. So we're just going to have the positives kind of dangle, and we're going to do the negative connection and then send this to the lights.
This is the other cable that's going to come out from the light dimmer, and it's going to go out to the bedroom lights.
So we've got the wire through the ceiling. We taped it to this other wire we already had going on. And now we've already removed the outer layers so that we can do the connection here. So we debated for a long time how we were going to keep the wires up on the ceiling. There aren't many people talking about it, I don't feel. What we ended up doing is a combination of 2 things. We got these like fence staples, and we're kind of using them to prop the wires up by sticking it to the insulation, like hooking it up into the insulation. And then we do a little bit of Reflectix tape.
we were able to clean up all these cables. Look how pretty they look now. They're not just dripping down from the ceiling to the floor. You know, they're nice and tidied up.
So we have the solar cables running into this and then all the way down, coming up right here.
So we put in a set of Wagos on this cable that's gonna feed into the bedroom lights. So we're gonna have 2 puck lights for our bedroom lights. This middle slot right here is reserved for one of them. It's gonna connect directly into it. The other one, we're gonna use this cable that I have right here. It's gonna basically extend it. So at the end of this cable, we're gonna put in another set of Wagos. And on there, we're gonna connect our final puck light for the bedroom.
So this is the full circuit for the bedroom lines. We have the main wire that's going to hook up to the fuse block. Then it's coming through conduit under here all the way to this first point. This is where it's going to head off into the other lights. But for the bedroom light, it comes down through this cable. This is where we're going to hook up our switch. So this is the cable that's going to hook up to the switch. From the switch, it's going to come up all the way through the ceiling over here to the first puck light and then to the second puck light. Okay, so now that we have the bedroom lights all wired, it's time to get on to the under cabinet lights. We're going to have some overhead cabinets running in the front of the van, and under those cabinets we're going to have puck lights. So that's what we're going to wire for right now. They're going to have a separate switch right here that's going to go next to the switch for the bedroom lights, and we're going to have 2 on the driver's side and 1 on the passenger side. We're filling up the last slot available in these Wagos with this small cable. Now these Wagos that I'm about to insert on this end of the small cable is what's going to allow us to separate this into 2 sections of lights. The one we're currently wiring for, which is the under cabinet lighting, and then the last one, which is the front of the van light. Last night we stopped filming because it got too dark. I'm just going to kind of run you through what we did last night. We finished the pre-wiring for the under cabinet lights. Okay, so over here on the driver's side wall, we branched off from the main line, went down to the switch, then came back up inside the wall because this is where the cabinets are going to go. We put in a Wago. We're still going to have to put another Wago in because there's going to be 2 lights under this cabinet. From this first Wago, we branched up and over to the passenger side of the van, and from here we just did a little Wago at the end because this cabinet is only going to have 1 light, 1 puck light.
So this is the wire that we're going to need to run for our final circuit, and our final circuit is going to be for our entrance light from the sliding door. So it's going to be a puck light that's going to sit right around here. So the whole circuit is just going to consist of 1 puck lights and 1 switch.
This is the wire that's going to connect to our switch that's going to be over here. So we basically left enough wire to just go through the wall and then go around and then just be at the end of the cabinet, I guess. We hope we left enough wire. On the driver's side, we cut it to the length that allows us to connect it to the main lights cable. And it's the last slot on this Wago. So I'm going to pass it under this column here because it's going to have to attach to this Wago. And then I'm going to strip back this sleeve so that we can do the connection. So the light's going to go right here. So we're just going to basically backtrack all the way to the switch area. We're not going to wire for the switch yet because we don't have the cabinet, so it would just be a waste of time, I think, to try and wire it now. We're finally done with the pre-wiring on the van, so this is it for this week's video.
Our next couple of videos are the solar panel installation and the ceiling, so stay tuned for those.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye!